hold on to serve. And they can't. She couldn't do it. She had a chance. She had the racket in her hand. All she has to do is serve it out. And now Benchik is back at 5-5. I can't even fucking watch the rest of this. Hold on. Sir. I got a show to do. And they can't.
It's more fun to watch you get frustrated watching tennis.
Yeah, well before Steve Dangle came up with the idea of, of that.
Oh, he didn't invent? Yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, to watch somebody watch something is exciting, right? Think about it. All you can do is watch someone's reaction. You can't, let's say you just can't watch the game. You can't watch it for whatever reason. Right. You're watching someone watch the game. That's the next best thing. It's someone telling you over the phone.
No, it's right. Yeah.
I'm telling you, I'm at the game right now. I'm there.
But you got to have the broadcast rights. That's why Dangle can do it. Like, it's not like I can do it.
Exactly.
All right. Live with Hebsy. I'm writing my tweet right now.
Okay. Write your tweet. I have to turn this off because if it was the final, if it was the French Open final, that's one thing. But
so what are we at now in the French Open? Where is that? What
third? They're going to heading for the round of 16, I guess.
Okay.
So this is third round action.
And she's last Canadian standing.
In the women's side, yeah, we got Felix going later today as well.
All right. I'm up to speed now. Okay.
All right. Everything else is good. We're live streaming now.
We're live. Yeah.
Hey. Hi, everybody. Very exciting again. Everybody stay up late to watch the Battle of Alberta. Not even a skirmish.
I fell asleep halfway through the second period.
Not even a skirmish. Is it? Yeah, I can't blame you for that. How can anybody?
I can't stay up that late. If it was the Stanley Cup, if it was a clinching game of the finals, I would stay up, but not for the second round. And it's not my team. Although it's kind of Monica's team, but that's
Well, listen, the Oilers are now. So you know what song they play after the Oilers win, eh?
Nope. What do they play?
La Bamba.
The Los Lobos version.
Well, the original is Richie Valens, but it's not nearly as good as the Los Lobos version.
No, it's not.
But what happened was that the guys in Los Lobos had no idea. I didn't find out till the other day when they had a clip, and in the background, as soon as the game was over, the Oilers won. You hear da 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 da. I'm like, whoa! How long has this been going on for? And apparently, since February. When Joey Moss passed away,
right?
They started telling stories. They said, the song he really loved was La Bamba. He loved that song. He would dance to that song. And so they kind of took it. I don't know who it was, but there's a young boy, and I can't think of his name now, who's sort of, I guess, the adopted mascot of the Oilers.
Right.
And his line is like, play La Bamba, baby. And as soon as he says that, everybody goes nuts and crazy and wild. And so it just sort of took on a life of its own. It's the Oilers song. Wow. So I call Steve Berlin and I say, are you aware of this? And he's like, I had no idea. So I sent him a couple of clips, and he was like beside himself. He says, I'm an Oilers fan. So last night he texted me like in the middle of, not the middle of the night, but he's like, I can't believe these Oilers. This is great. Right. And then sure enough, as soon as the game was over, they play it, not in Calgary, but they're playing it in the Oilers dressing room and on all the morning shows in Edmonton, on all the morning shows.
Wow. That's cool.
Isn't that great?
That's cool. Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah,
very cool.
Very cool. So yeah, I figured I'd let some Edmonton people know. Hey, by the way, guys, the guys in Los Lobos they're pretty happy about this too.
Yeah, no.
I mean, a couple of dollars in their pockets, even though they didn't write the song. Actually, that's a good one. They didn't write the song.
They don't have the publishing. They have whatever.
No, but wait a second. They do have the publishing on their version of it that went to #1 worldwide.
Right, okay, they don't have the writing. Right.
And then the writing, but they have the production and they have the I don't know, whatever. Yeah, not the writing credit. That would be to the Richie Valens family.
Right.
Anyway, so that's a pretty cool story, eh? So I want the Oilers to win anyway because of Zach Hyman, and I love McDavid.
Yeah,
how can you not love this guy? And also, this is the kind of a team that like their goaltending is horrible. So instead of like writing them off and going, oh, your goal, it's like, okay, can you score enough goals? It's sort of like the Leafs. It's like, can the Leafs pump 7? Or the Blue Jays? Can you score 8 runs? Just score more runs than the other team. And in this case here with the Oilers, that first game when they lost 9-6, everyone's like, oh my God, 9 goals. 9 goals.
Right.
And that was it for Calgary. They were done right after that. So now Leila Annie Fernandez, ladies and gentlemen, had broken back. That's what I say. Holding serve is tough. And she now leads 6-5. She's serving for the match again.
Exciting.
Serving for the match again. Do you want me to do should I do play-by-play here? What the heck, eh?
Well,
What are you gonna do?
sure. Go. It's your show.
All right. Second serve at 6-5. 0-0. And, is that out? It was out. Ooh, Benchik missed a fairly easy shot wide, so it's 15-love. So Andreescu got beaten by this girl, Benchik, the other day.
Right.
Okay. And then, had she won, it would have been Andreescu against Leila Annie Fernandez, to which I'd be like, who do you root for in that one? Like, you want them both to win. It's sort of like, it's like someone who's not a Calgary or Edmonton fan in hockey going like, I don't care. It doesn't matter to me, because as long as we get a Canadian representative going to the next round. Do you think that way?
For tennis, yeah, like I would be just, it would be a can't lose match. Like I would enjoy the match, but I couldn't lose. Like
But wait a second, but you had to root for one of them though. You can't just say, well, I can relax.
No, I mean in that match,
and not watch the match, right?
Okay, I'll be.
My God, she's up 40-love. Triple match point for Leila Annie Fernandez, ladies.
Okay, good for her.
She's
I like
up
her,
and down.
I like Bianca just as much.
Okay, well, hang on a second. Bianca's out of it. She's not.
No, I know. I meant if they had faced each other.
They have, yeah, that's right. But you would have had to have chosen one. You couldn't just sit there and watch the match and go, that's a nice shot. That's a nice shot. All right, triple match point for Leila Annie Fernandez here live on the YouTube channel, which may be shut down any second. Serve is in.
You can do
rally going on. Coming to the net. Benchik is a winner. Fernandez is a winner.
Wow.
Benchik just stuffed it down into the ground, and Fernandez is on to the next round with a fantastic win over the number 11 seed Benchik. Okay, that's it.
You should do tennis play-by-play.
Right.
Hold on. What's we holding on for? Canada. Right, good news to start off our Friday. I love it.
Canada. How about that, eh?
Woo!
If only we could arrange that the podcast would begin around, or the live stream would begin around the same time as something dramatic was going to happen. Like if you could time it that way, it says, let's start the show while the dramatic moment. Like we could have started our show last night when they went to overtime in the Calgary Edmonton game.
Yeah, good idea. I would have been asleep at the switch. What's going on?
I'm kind of only kidding.
I know. All right, brother. It's up. So it's 8:59. It's up to you. You want to rock and roll?
Oh, wait a second. I haven't retweeted your tweet.
Okay. Come on. You got to do that. Come on.
I know. I've been
you were
busy
too into the tennis.
Too into watching sports. Jeez.
Too many sports.
Okay. Hang on a second. There's a tweet. Oh yeah, James Sharman. We're talking. Oh, that's great. Okay.
In his accent.
He doesn't have an accent. We have an accent.
I disagree. And his pies. It's all about the pies.
I have not had one yet.
No, me neither. He didn't even bring me one. Little jerk. Like, who comes over? Like, I gave him a freaking list.
Whoa! Okay, come on. I like this. This is good. All right.
Son of a gun. I'm fiery lately. My trigger is
well, Mike, you've been doing a lot of shows and there's been a lot of controversy going on, and you got to blow off some steam sometimes.
I did with Martha and the Muffins yesterday.
I'll bet you they never want to play Echo Beach again.
I don't know. They seem to be pleased with the royalty checks it provided them. So,
right.
It is their most lucrative asset.
By far.
Right.
Okay, are we ready to go?
Yeah, buddy. You do the cold open, right?
Yeah, I just dropped something here, and I'm thinking, like, why do I have to pick it up now? I'm in my studio.
Drop the needle.
Let me get the blue liquid going here.
I'd love to know what's really in that bottle. That'll be our expose. What's going on there?
That is blue Mio.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I do Tang. Okay, there's.
But the Mio that I use is the stuff that has the electrolytes or whatever. It's not just your basic one.
Not just your flavoring.
So when you're drinking the water with the Mio, you're getting your
okay. Gotcha.
Electrolytes. Okay, buddy. So you give me the signal and we'll go with the cold opening.
5, 4, 3.
The following podcast is brought to you by Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington. It's just 45 minutes from downtown Toronto. And there you'll find the most beautiful and affordable public golf course in Ontario. $1 million views of the Niagara Escarpment, outstanding customer service, great banquet facilities, practice facilities, terrific pro shop, and of course, fabulous golf on a championship course. The views are to die for. But you know what makes Crosswinds really special? It's the people. They care about your experience right from the time you drive through the gates until the time you leave. So what are you waiting for? Go to crosswindsgolf.com, see all they have to offer. You'd be a fool not to. And when you get there, don't forget, tell them Hebsy sent you. Now, Mike, let's begin the podcast. Hey there, sports fans. Welcome to Hebsy on Sports, episode number 286. And what a week of sports it's been. Wow. I still have not recovered from last night and early this morning. So much to talk about today. Connor McDavid will be showcasing his talents along with the rest of the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference Final after they dispatched Calgary in 5 games. Battle of Alberta? Not even a skirmish. What happened to Calgary? Anyway, the Oilers are moving on. Meanwhile, the New York Rangers will face elimination tomorrow at home against Carolina in Game 6. And the Avs, the Colorado Avalanche, can eliminate St. Louis tonight in Game 6 in Missouri. I don't think that's going to happen after they choked the other night. Wow. In hoops, the Golden State Warriors eliminated Dallas in 5 games. They're going back to the NBA Finals, but not against the Raptors. It's going to be against either Boston or Miami, and Klay Thompson is back, baby. The Celtics can eliminate the Heat tonight in Beantown in Game 6 there. Man, a Boston Golden State final would be delicious. The Blue Jays had the bats going again last night. Vladdy Guerrero was now homered in 2 games in a row. Woo. And Shohei Ohtani is a human being. We got tennis. Big upset today by a Canadian. Golf and lots of soccer talk in advance of the Champions League final with our special guest, James Sharman. That's right, the guy with the funny accent. Do you notice that when you talk soccer, no one who's a soccer expert can have a Canadian accent.
I have noticed this.
There has to be an accent. It goes to credibility. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And no matter, even if you're talking nonsense, you just sound like you know what you're talking about.
That's right. You sound erudite.
So that's a $5 word to start our Friday morning. I'm impressed.
Oh God. Let's say hi to Toronto Mike if we haven't already. How's it been? Well, you've had a really busy week, haven't you, in your podcast world?
Yeah, it's been busy times here, but I want to just start, and I know this gentleman was a very good friend of yours and an acquaintance of mine, but I just want to offer my condolences to you that the great Andrew Crystal has left us far too soon.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone was really close to Andrew. I mean, I would say I was more of an acquaintance, but Andrew would call or text at any time.
Right. More
times than not to talk about the Leafs. He was the biggest Leaf fan of them all. Right. And I don't think Andrew would mind me telling this story that, I feel really bad because listen, I don't know what killed Andrew, but I'll bet you the Leafs had something to do with it over the years. I mean it.
Okay.
Because they wore him down. He took up a lot of his time. He texted me just before he went out for his fateful walk late Saturday night, early Sunday morning. I got a text from him at midnight asking if I was up, and I had gone to bed. So I kind of looked at it and didn't respond. And then the next morning when I went to respond, before I did, I checked my whatever, and I noticed your post that he had passed away, which you gotten from the Facebook post, I guess, from a very good friend of his.
Yes.
Who had found out before me, like in the morning when they woke up on Sunday morning.
Did you know you're one of now 4 people I know now who were texting with him around midnight that Saturday night?
Yeah, I think I was the last because I spoke to Humble Howard Glassman, and his last text was at 11:50, like 10 minutes to 12 to midnight. And then I'm thinking, like, I don't know, this is the way Andrew was. Like, it was,
wow.
All right, I'm done with Humble Howard. He won't, or whatever, I'm finished talking with him, or we've had our discussion.
Right.
I'm sure it was about the Leafs. I'll bet you it was about the Leafs.
No, I can
because
tell
they
you.
were always a part of it.
He was about a certain Q107 DJ.
Oh, okay. Anyway, but a lot of that talk also had to do with the Leafs too, because that guy talked. Anyway, been going on for years. So that's Andrew Wood out of the middle of the night would, want to talk about the Leafs, want to vent about the Leafs, want to know my opinion about the Leafs. And he knew he would get my opinion and vice versa. Anyway, very sad. I never got a chance to go to his New Year's party known as the New Year's Levy, which he held every New Year's Day because New Year's Day is my birthday.
Right.
And I would say for 20 years, every year he would invite me. I'd say, I can't make it. I've always got something going. My kids are throwing a party for me, whatever. And he said, and if you can drop by, and I never did because it was on January 1st and I was always tied up with family stuff, but he always invited me and I never went. And that's my one regret. One of those years I could have said, the man invites me every year to his party. Rest in peace, Andrew, the biggest Maple Leafs fan of them all. I know that a lot of people listening going, oh, no, I'm the world's biggest. No, I'm the world's biggest. No, you weren't. Andrew was, because you didn't pick up the phone and call acquaintances at all hours to talk about the Leafs. You just didn't do that. He was a huge Leaf fan. Rest in peace, Andrew.
Absolutely.
So this guy, Connor McDavid, is it like it's like Gretzky. Back in the day, you didn't get to see Edmonton Oilers games unless you had a satellite dish, one of those big satellite dishes, not the little dinky ones that you stick on the side of your apartment building. But back in the day, if you wanted to see the great Edmonton Oilers of the 80s with Gretzky, you had to have a big satellite dish or you had to watch Sportsline late at night to get some highlights. And remember, they're 2 hours behind. What I didn't know at the time was I had no idea. All of the Edmonton Oilers players would gather, for the most part, at Kevin Lowe or Esa Tiikkanen's place and watch Sportsline live.
Wow, I didn't know this.
Okay. So we'd be on at 11:30 at night, which is 9:30 p.m. in Edmonton. And if they weren't playing that night, all right, they're watching the show. They're watching us live on the big dish in Esa Tiikkanen's backyard or Kevin Lowe's backyard, something like that. No idea until they're in town or whatever. I run into them. We're doing an interview, and Gretzky says to me, he goes, "You guys were great the other night." I go, "What are you talking about?" He says, "Yeah, we were watching on the satellite dish." And this is like 1984, 85.
Wow.
I said, "You're watching the satellite dish?" He goes, "Yeah, Tick's got one." Yeah, Tick's got one. Okay.
That's wild.
And he's telling me that there's like 8, 10, 12 of them, right? Glenn Anderson, Furzy, I don't have to tell you who was on that team, Curry, Mass, all the guys. And they're watching the show. And I could just imagine them sitting and having a couple of pops, watching the show. Jim and I are doing highlights, laughing. They don't know what's going on in the other games. This is how they got their scouting report. So I always had an affinity for the team and the people of Edmonton because of that, right? From Gretzky era on down. They want to know what's going on in the rest of hockey. And Edmonton's kind of an outpost when it comes to that compared to Toronto. So good on the Oilers. And, how do you replace a Gretzky? You can't do it. How do you make the comparisons? You can't do it. You certainly can't do it if the guy hasn't won a Stanley Cup, hasn't even been to a Cup final. Well, he just took a big step. And we're talking about Connor McDavid. The guy is electrifying. Can I use that word?
Yes.
He's electrifying. As great as that goal by Nathan McKinnon was, right, and the other night, and the inevitable comparisons, because he's a great hockey player, right? Is he right up there with Connor McDavid? No. Once for the same reasons, he hasn't won a Stanley Cup. That's true, but and he's an unbelievable talent. But geez, McDavid is like lightning. 5:03 into overtime, and he touches. The puck was on his stick for a nanosecond. It's in the net. It happened so fast. It was like, did I just see that goal? Did he just score that? Draisaitl, a 15, 18-foot pass, and bing, in the net. It reminded me of that Lafleur goal that they show all the time when Cherry and the Boston Bruins had a too-many-man on the ice penalty. And if you remember that, the highlight of that one, Lafleur gets it to Lemaire. And then as soon as Lafleur steps inside the blue line, Lemaire has left him a pass that all he has to do is take one stride and bing, it's in the net. That's like this goal last night. And just like that, Calgary's done. They're out. And the Oilers have advanced 5-4 was the final score. 4-1. 9-6 Calgary in the opening game. You're laughing, going, Edmonton scores 6 and can't win. And from then on, it was like, see ya. Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid, Zach fucking Hyman. And look, I don't mind telling you, I was shocked last year. I was like, are you kidding me? They couldn't get in his hometown. He had to go to Edmonton to find success. That must have been a no-brainer for Zach. Nice town, love their hockey. Oh, you got McDavid? Oh, I'll play with him. Oh, you got Draisaitl? Oh, okay, I'll play with him. Oh, you got a goalie that's like not as good as my industrial league goalie. You got a goalie on that team. You got two goalies that seriously would not be able to make the team on Shoresy on that show, on that team in Sudbury. If you've ever seen this show, the goalie is so bad that in between periods, he's screaming at him. He goes, "You're the worst fucking goalie in the world. Get the fuck out. You are the worst fucking goalie ever." Right. And he's yelling at him. And I can imagine the Oilers between periods saying to themselves, "We got the fucking worst goalie ever. And we're still winning." Right. Mike Smith is, every time he touches the puck, it's like it's a live grenade. You don't know what to expect, but Markstrom was worse. Anyway, I don't know if you saw it. Did you see the game?
I saw like a 1.5 periods. Yeah. And then I went to sleep.
All right. So the Flames thought they had taken the lead. It was back and forth, ping pong, 7 goals in 5 minutes, like nuts.
Wow.
I don't know what to expect. The goalies just they really looked like awful. They couldn't stop a beach ball. The checkers you couldn't check a suitcase. Like it was all over the place. Anyway, Markstrom, who by the way is a Vezina Trophy finalist, looked absolutely worse than Mike Smith, which was hard to do, really. Mike Smith got lucky because Blake Coleman, had he lifted up his skate and not touched the puck to go into the net, Calgary would have probably won that game in the third period with about 5 minutes to go. But the goal was disallowed, even though it looked like the puck would have gone in anyway. And you could have said, no, he couldn't stop his momentum. And we were all shocked when they disallowed the goal. But if you look at it that way, yeah, he is directing it in. Even though it was going in, his skate was going in that direction. And, is that a distinct kicking motion? Well, he did direct the puck in, and even so, even if the goal counts, who knows? Calgary, they were lousy. Not that they were lousy. Edmonton was the better team. That line is unstoppable. Zach Hyman's a beast. Did I know he could score like that? Mike, I'm not talking about garbage goals. This guy can score like real goals. He can shoot the puck.
We miss him, Hebsy.
Oh, boy. If there was ever any evidence that, we could have used a guy like Zach Hyman. He was a total beast.
But we say the same about Kadri. Like, these are all guys we had, and then...
it's true, we had a 30-goal scorer. He was a 30-goal scorer, but he got suspended 2 playoffs in a row, and it was easy to point the finger. He was the one. If it wasn't for him, we would... Obviously, that's not true. So now you're Edmonton. By the way, the Edmonton goals, the winning song, the song that the team has adopted, and I can't remember now the one from 2019 when St. Louis won. I can't remember what song that was that year. If it was a song, but this year's song is La Bamba, right? Which was written by Richie Valens, but was made popular by Los Lobos, a #1 worldwide hit from the movie La Bamba. The whole song's in Spanish. This is in Edmonton. They're playing this song. And they started playing it because Joey Moss, the late Joey Moss, who was very special in the Edmonton Oilers organization. And the Joey Moss story is this. Before Wayne was married to Janet, he went out with a lovely young lady named Vicky Moss from Edmonton. He just, he was a teenager when he first lived in Edmonton, right? Anyway, she was a very nice young lady, had a singing career, and her brother, Joey, was developmentally handicapped, all right? And was a young man and was just a huge hockey fan. And so Wayne, took him in, I guess sort of adopted him, where they adopted him as I don't want to say mascot because that's wrong, but as a
part of the team,
a supporter of the team. Yeah. A part of the team. All right. Call him what you want. Good luck charm, whatever it was. And so Joey, as he grew up, was a dressing room attendant. He got towels, he helped out, and he ended up growing on the players. And of course, they're winning all these championships. And this young kid is a part of this team. He is like a member of the team. And his favorite song when it came out in 1987 was La Bamba. He couldn't stop singing it. He danced to it all the time. And when he passed away, The team kind of took on this with the help of another young boy through Twitter who is also, suffering, through
Down syndrome.
Right. They sort of adopted this song and they play it now after every win. Right. And the other day I'm listening and they win the game and I hear, as soon as the game is over, I hear and I'm like, wow, I wonder if the guys in Los Lobos know this. So I get in touch with my friend Steve Berlin. I send him a couple of clips and he's like, I had no idea. Now they're all fans of the Oilers, right? It's spectacular. All the radio stations in Edmonton this morning are playing the song. They play it in the dressing room, loud as all hell, right? After their victories.
This is a great story. I love that you told the guys in Los Lobos that their song has been adopted by the Edmonton Oilers.
Steve is texting me last night. He's going, what a game this is. This is fantastic. And I'm saying to him, I says, even if Calgary wins, that means you'll get an extra day of La Bamba. You'll get an extra, maybe they'll win it at home and everybody will go nuts and they'll play it in the streets, that kind of a thing.
Amazing.
And I'm thinking this is great. And he's probably going, this is great too. But wow, fabulous for royalties, eh? Because even though it's not there, they didn't write the song. It's a Richie Valens song. It's a remake. It was number one. They got, it's good for them.
It's been very lucrative for their.
It was great. It was really great. So I thought that was really cute. Anyway, they're going to face the winner of the St. Louis, Colorado series. The Blues facing elimination tonight, down 3-2, but they were facing elimination like there's backs to the wall, Mike, and then you're in an elimination game. You fought back 3 times. You fought back from a 3-0 deficit on the road. Think about that. You're going to get eliminated. Right. You're down 3-0 and you're on the road. And you're in Denver and they're going nuts. They're counting down the minutes. And you fight back and you tie the game, right? But you come back like twice in the final couple of minutes with your net empty and you score both times. You've completely demoralized this team that had you by the balls. And then you beat them in overtime on a goal that your son could have stopped. No, really, a 72 mile an hour goal. So I'm thinking, okay, between Darcy Kemper and Ville Husso and Jacob Markstrom and Mike Smith, like who's the best goalie out of those 4 guys, right? Like Markstrom's out already, and in the East, you've got Shesterkin. You've got Ranta and you've got Vasilevsky, none of whom give up more than Shesterkin's had a few, but I mean, they don't give up any goals, these goalies.
Right.
Like there's no way Vasilevsky doesn't give up ever more than 2 goals, 3, maybe. And these guys that I just mentioned are giving up 5, 6, 7, 9, shooting gallery. So I don't know what to expect. Anyway, it's been fabulous. Steve texted me last night in the middle of the game. It's after midnight. He's going, this is great. This is we're Edmonton Oilers fans. So,
woo.
And I do. I like that Oilers team. What's not to like?
Well, it's fun to watch McDavid, and we miss Hyman, so we have the warm fuzzies for him. And I like it when the goalie's in his 40s.
And also, had you ever heard of the length of a shot ever discussed before for a goal? Had you ever heard anyone on any hockey comment that, that was a 127-foot figure? The only time I've ever heard it is Harry Neal used to do this, right? On the replay after a goal, if it was a shot from the point, Harry would say something like, on that 57-footer by Salming, or, that kind of a thing. That 48-foot, once in a while, he would do that on a long shot. I don't know what the dimension is from the blue line in, but whatever it was in that rink, Harry would, make light of that. It would be like when the guy hits a ball to the warning track and right under the 399 sign. And of course, the announcer goes, he hit that one about 398.5 feet.
Right.
But they don't have those designations on the ice. Maybe they should have them burned in.
It's like when you run back the kickoff for a touchdown or something.
Yeah, exactly. And so immediately it's 132 feet, 7 inches, longest goal ever. I thought that was the funniest thing. They've got stats for everything. What was the longest goal in Stanley Cup history prior to that goal? Who had it? What was it? Do we have a highlight of it? Was it 120 feet, 117 feet? Come on. I need to know these things. Anyway, Carolina beat the Rangers 3-1. They've got a 3-2 lead in that series. Antti Ranta facing just 17 Ranger shots. Oh my God, they were all over them like a blanket. Rangers couldn't do anything. Suffocating. Baseball, the Blue Jays have won 2 in a row, and the bats seem to be coming alive as they dispatched the Angels 6-3 last night in Anaheim. Hyun Jin Ryu went 5 innings and left the rest up to the bullpen. He threw, I think, 64 pitches. So I didn't see anything. I didn't see any reporting saying 64. I didn't even hear the announcers go 64 pitches. So, say, Pat, that sounds like a pretty low number. I wonder if there's anything wrong with him. I don't know.
Is that your Devlin?
No, I don't know. That was your general announcer.
Oh, your general announcer.
That was in for George Carlin. I've been watching the George Carlin.
Okay, I haven't got to it yet, but I will see.
Yeah. And so, that's the way George Carlin was. Stuff like that. Anyway. So Rio goes 5 innings. Like I said, 64 pitches. Okay, that's it. You're out. And then Phelps for an inning, Garcia for an inning, Simber for an inning, and then Romano in the final inning. And he makes an error that ends up leading to an unearned run because he hadn't pitched in a while. Vladdy Guerrero Jr. I don't know why I have to say Junior. Vladdy.
Like with Ken Griffey, we did it forever, so I think you have to say it forever.
Well, no, his name was Junior though. Griffey. When you said Junior, you knew it was Griffey.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Junior, because his nickname was Junior. Not that he wasn't the only guy named Junior, because there have been many of them.
Right, including Junior Felix.
Junior. Vladdy homered for the 2nd straight game. He now has 9 home runs on the season. Last year at this time, he had 16 homers. Okay, 9. So he's got to get hot. He finished the season with 48 last year.
Wow.
George Springer led off a game with a home run for the 40, I don't know, whatever time, 4th in history. He's not closing in on Ricky Henderson, who has the most, 80-something, whatever. That's leading off a game with a home run.
Yeah, no one's going to beat Ricky.
No. Bo Bichette had a couple of hits, and Ryu kept Mike Trout and company at bay. Mike, I'm still concerned the Jays don't have enough depth, especially in the outfield. They called up Kevin Biggio, who's just had a horrible year. He's had COVID. He got injured. He was hitting like 040, but he's a left-handed bat. However, the Jays must improve their outfield depth. You cannot go with Bradley Zimmer and Raimel Tapia and expect to chase down the Yankees or even get a playoff spot. You need better players. Like, go and get Joey Votto, left-handed bat, starting to swing it. Okay? I'm not saying he can play the outfield, but hey, he spells Vladdy at first. They go back and forth. They DH or they play first. Okay? I'd love to have that bat in the lineup. Wouldn't have to worry about playing Bradley Zimmer or Raimel Tapia. And Biggio can play the outfield. He could be your 4th, 5th outfield. Come on. Let's do something here, or this Yankee team's going to get away from you. By the way, if you're looking for tonight's game on Sportsnet, Now, apparently what happened was Hazel May said, look, I'm not going to get dunked ever again. Not going to happen. Not going to do it. And then Arash said, nope, not going to do an interview. I'm afraid the Jays are going to win, and I'm going to get dunked. And my, Hugo Boss suit is going to get ruined, and my yellow Pumas are going to get ruined. No, not going to do it. So the game isn't on Sportsnet tonight. Evelyn's voice is going on him. Pat, I don't even know. And they're at the game. Like, they're all there, I think. And then back in the studio is like, who was it last night? Brad Fay and Ben and Arden or Ben. Oh, I can't keep up. And on the radio last night was Dan Shulman Jr., Junior Shulman, one of the Junior Shulmans. Ben Shulman. Sorry, Ben. That's what it was. It's Ben Wagner is off. So you can't, he has to be replaced by another guy named Ben. And he's taken off the radio.
What do you think of that? What do you think of Dan Shulman's son getting a spot on the radio there?
What do I think of it?
Yeah. Because usually you have takes on these things. Like, you cool with it, or do you think it's a nepotism?
Why not?
What do you think? I don't know.
Do I think it's nepotism? I think it came down to this. Here's what it came down to. It's like, well, what kind of roster do we have? What's our depth chart at play-by-play TV radio? Here's the depth chart. And then they wrote all the names down. And then someone said, well, what if Wagner needs a couple days off, or he wants to take a couple days off? Remember, Wagner's not going on the road. The only time he went on the road was to do some TV games in Cleveland for a couple of days, but he's generally not going on the road. So it was like, who do we replace? And if Wagner needs to go somewhere for Memorial Day weekend, which is this weekend coming up in the States, what do we do? Well, we get another guy to do radio. Well, who do we get? Well, we get Dan. Well, no, Dan's doing TV, or Dan's off. His other son is graduating or whatever. Well, and then who's your next choice? Like, do you say to Jamie Campbell, hey, Jamie, can you come do play-by-play for a few West Coast games? No. So Dan probably goes, hey, listen, if you're stuck, like, my son, Ben, what is it? 4 games. And he does them from the studios in Toronto, right? He'll bring his own lunch. He'll pay for his own Uber, right? Pay him, he's got to be paid, obviously, but, don't worry about how much it's going to be. Plus, it'll be great on his resume, because when Ben Sharman goes to apply for a job with a major league team, they're going to say, well, what do you got, kid? And he goes, well, I did 4 Angels BlueJays games. Like, I haven't heard the audio of his call of the Vladdy home run, but it might be better than the old man's, right? He might end up being Joe Buck to Jack Buck. Like, oh, wasn't your father Dan Shulman? Yeah, he was pretty good for the Jays. Yeah, but Ben Shulman's going to end up being like, the ESPN #1 guy in a few, like 20 years, 10 years, 6 years. I don't know.
You never know.
How did we get on this, by the way?
You were talking about how
That's right. Oh, by the way, no, that's right. So the game tonight is on Apple TV Plus. You don't have Apple TV Plus, you're SOL. Starts at 8:55 p.m. Announcers, TBA. Hey, listen, it could be out for all. It could be James Sharman could be doing the game tonight on Apple TV.
Maybe it'll be Ted Lasso.
It'll be Ted Lasso doing the game. By the way, 2 things. No more Gatorade showers for Hazel or for Arash or whoever. So that's Vladdy. That's on Vladdy. Stop that shit. Stop it. Number 2, Teoscar Hernandez. Enough with the sunflower seeds.
Right. I know.
Okay, just enough with the sunflower seeds. I'll get to the Golden State Warriors and some other stuff, but first we're going to welcome our guest in today. He's a busy man. He's doing podcasts. He's got bets going. He's got in-game bets going. He's got 1 soccer, 2 soccer, 3 soccer, more. He's the head of soccer content and the senior producer at The Parlay. He's the co-creator and one of the Gang of 6 on the Footy Prime podcast. They're all nuts, all of them. And they all have accents. I never know which one's talking. Oh, no, that's actually the good thing with accents is you can tell that accent I know. When you hear 2 people without accents, you go, which one's talking? Like, which guy am I listening to? Like, I'm trying to figure out when I hear disembodied voices. Anyway, I worked with him back in the late 90s at, I don't know. I don't remember. Was it Headline Sports or The Score? Anyway, it was one of the 2. Look at him now. Let's say hi to James Sharman, everybody.
Hello, boys. How's it going? Hebsy, that's a long time ago, huh? Late 90s. I think it was Headline Sports still, wasn't it? I think.
I don't remember. Too many drugs were being done back in those days. Okay? You couldn't get into the bath. There was a nice bathroom on the main floor. It was a beautiful bathroom, the kind of bathroom like in a really nice hotel suite, which it was. It was part of the Holiday Inn there where we had studios. And sometimes people would be in that bathroom for a long time in there.
And they come out with a little kick in their step. To say the least.
James, let's go back now. Okay, so we're talking late 90s. That was a breeding ground for great sportscasters, great sports producers, great deliverers of sports content, would you say?
Yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was in many ways school for a lot of us. Coming through the intern program, myself, Cabby, Tim and Sid, Martine, the guy that arrived, she was already polished. She was great from the Weather Network. Sansoni, Elliot Friedman, of course. Friedger from The Fan came to Headline Sports. Yeah, I mean, it was amazing. Sarah Oleski, Deb Majewska. So many great, well, not myself, obviously, in this umbrella, but some really well-known people now, right, who've done really well for themselves. And it was a great breeding ground. It really was. I think it was a chance for us to just try stuff, and you wouldn't be hammered if you got it wrong. And then yourself arrived, Hebsy, and like the old veteran, and we all just kind of bowed in your magnificence.
So when you say that you had mentioned that we all came through the intern program, what did you mean by that?
Yeah, well, there was a great intern program there. Basically, they made us work for free back in those days. So myself, for example, I came out of school, and in the last year, I got to intern there doing this, that, ticker, shot listing. Essentially, it was just a way to get a lot of work done for nothing.
What school? What school were you at?
I was at Ryerson.
So you were taking radio television at Ryerson, right?
Not RTA. No, I took media arts, actually. Yeah, which RTA, I wasn't smart enough for RTA.
Yeah.
That was a better program. My program wasn't great, but I had a great time, put it that way. But as far as what I learned at the school, it wasn't fantastic. I learned more in the first 6 months at Headline Sports, I think, about the industry than 4 years at the school.
I think it was Headline Sports because now that you mentioned it, I have a cap or a T-shirt or a golf shirt somewhere with the The headline sports thing. But before that, it was only a ticker. Before there was ever any video, it was a ticker only service. And the gamblers, right, were the ones who were hip to it, because the gamblers got their, were we not posting odds of all these games back in the late 90s?
Yeah, we were ahead of the times. We really were. I think it was called Sports Scope from Hamilton, right? Before Headline Sports was born, John Levy, the owner, right? And then he got the license to broadcast, news essentially. And it kind of went from there. I remember the biggest thing for us back in those days was Sunday's horse racing from Woodbine.
Right.
And they play, the races and the ticker, the odds, and people loved it. It was a great idea. And really kind of, I think, financed a lot of the ambition back in those days.
Yeah. And so from that, like, did you say to them, or how did it come about that you became the soccer pundit? I'm going to say pundit because you didn't have the journalistic background of, let's interview the coaches but you had the love and the passion for soccer. So how did that evolve?
Well, that's a great point, because I think, like I mentioned, back in those days at Headline Sports, to get the polished, finished journalist reporter cost money, right? We were a lot cheaper. I interviewed, and they heard my accent and they said, well, you must like international sports, right? Soccer, rugby. And I'm like, yeah, of course I do. And I did. Obviously, I was passionate about them. But that's kind of how I got my foot through the door. I began producing a segment called Sports World for 2-3 minutes a day. I get Elliot, Steve Koulias, these kind of guys to voice it for me. Right. And then they thought, well, no, let's get your voice on air. So really that's how it started, just because of my accent. I went like, my accent helped me. I was a Canadian. I've been here for a decade at that point. I am a Canadian, but I did sound a bit different. And that kind of worked into this little segment. And then I grew that. I get pitching ideas to expand it, make it bigger and bigger and bigger. From Sports World to the Footy Show in 2007, when the Score at that point got the Premier League rights for 3 years,
which was remarkable. Remarkable that we could actually watch it, because my background of soccer was, having grown up here, was you saw nothing. I mean, in fact, when I covered the North American Soccer League when I first started in radio, I tried to I interviewed Pele. Not really. I interviewed, and it was, but still, there's Pele, there's Giorgio Canaglia, there's Beckenbauer, there's Kyle Rote Jr., this wave of soccer fans that, I didn't love the sport because I thought it was low scoring and I was a hockey fan, but I appreciated it as the beautiful game, and much more so later. But there wasn't much exposure if you were I'm going to say a WASP, no, not a WASP, but if you were an English Canadian who grew up with Hockey Night in Canada, the only way you were introduced to soccer was if you had friends or neighbors that were from other countries. Yeah.
Not until I guess late 90s or mid 90s is when Soccer Saturday at TSN was born, right?
Graham Leggett,
Graham Leggett, the legend. And then that went to Sportsnet in the late 90s with Jerry and Craig. And then they had it for 10 years or so. I think back and forth to TSN a couple of times, I think. Yeah. Anyway.
But before that,
nothing, right? Yeah.
No. They had CFMT, Channel 47, had a game of the week. Okay. Sponsored by Dimpfelmeyer Bakeries. I'm serious. And it would be, Hertha Berlin against Mönchengladbach or something like that. And with English commentary. This would have been back in the 80s, man.
Well, that was before the Premier League was born, right? The Premier League was
before
born
the Premier League was born. So you would
and they really pushed the international marketing at that point, and they expanded this league beyond the boundaries of just UK. And that's when everything changed. And that's when the Bundesliga, when the Serie A, all these other leagues began to suffer a little bit, because the Premier League marketed themselves so well. And that's why it's been, the most successful, the richest league for 2 decades at least.
So well presented. I don't know anything about the history of Premier League competition. I mean, I know a little bit, but not like I would know the history of the Toronto Maple Leafs or the NHL or any North American sport. I just didn't grow up with it, so it's not absorbed in me. So I always defer to someone. Look, I don't know about the history of Tottenham Hotspur. I know I like Tottenham Hotspur because my dad's buddy sat on the board of directors there like 30, 40 years ago.
Okay.
And my dad was there, and some guy almost pissed on top of him. He was sitting in the lower bowl, and some guys were taking a leak about it. He couldn't understand why people brought umbrellas with them. It was a beautiful
exactly. And right? that's why you buy the program too, because you roll the program up and use that as a little funnel, shall we say, right?
So this was complete, excuse the expression, completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
And my dad said, you think Yankees Boston is a rivalry? You think Montreal Toronto is a rivalry? You think forget it. This is a rivalry. North London, Chelsea, Arsenal is a rivalry. And so he's explaining how it's like part of, in the bones of people, and in the, it's like
it is. It's like it's like hockey over here to a certain degree, but just more so. And
it's like religion.
Yeah, it is. It is religion. It's a way of life.
And so I wasn't aware of that. But as time went on, and the more people I spoke to, and the more I was exposed to it, and watched and saw international figures, and saw people go Beckham and David, stuff like that, the more interesting. Now I can watch a game and not have any skin in the game and just watch it because it's beautiful. Yeah, and I say, you're sick. How can you do that? You're sick. Because I'm watching the best players in the world. And to me, it doesn't matter what the sport is. If it's the best in the world, I'm intrigued. And so this is how I began to love soccer. I would watch some games. I covered the Toronto Blizzard, and there were some games on the artificial turf. They were terrible games and dull and boring. And people would go, how can you watch the sport? And I was going, yeah, you're right. And then something happened. And like you said, more exposure. And I got to see the best players in the world. I'm totally hooked on soccer. The Champions League final is this Saturday, right? I don't care Liverpool. I don't care Real Madrid, but I want to see great soccer. Are we going to see a tremendous match on Saturday?
Well, Hebsy, I think last time I saw you was at the final at the Rec Room 2-3 years ago now, when your beloved Spurs lost to my beloved Liverpool, right? And
was there not a handball? Was there not a handball? Was there not a handball in the first minute?
No,
was there not?
What are you talking? It was controversial. It wasn't a great game. This, I think, would be a much better game. It's Real Madrid, Liverpool, two of the most storied clubs in world sport, let alone soccer. One team in Liverpool are just an absolute joy to watch. And that's my bias being put aside. The way they play the game, their dynamics, some wonderful attacking players. They just play with poetry in their step, although they're kind of renowned as a heavy metal team, the way they attack. Real Madrid is a team that has won it 13 times, right? They're looking for their 14th Champions League. They've owned this championship. They've got to this point with some famous wins in games they shouldn't have won against Paris Saint-Germain, arguably the richest club in world football, at the death. Did the same thing against Man City in the semi-finals, arguably the richest club in world football. Just done it this impossible way. They're almost this team of destiny. And that's what, as a Reds fan, concerns me a bit, is because they've got this far. They shouldn't have got this far, but they found a way. Are they going to find a way on Saturday? I think it's going to be extremely dramatic.
So let's talk about Real Madrid, because like I mostly watch, a Premier League soccer, but also naturally Champions League. So I know about these guys. They've got like a veteran team. Like they got, like you say, destiny, like Benzema and Modric, guys like that. Like these are old guys, right?
They are. Guys in their mid-30s. I mean, Benzema is a guy he's been a world-class striker for many years, but he was very much in the shadow of Cristiano Ronaldo at Real Madrid. He took a step back, played a different kind of role. Ronaldo leaves, and at 34 years of age, Benzema is now probably the best, most complete centre forward in world football, and he scores big goals at big moments. He's done that in these two games I mentioned before when they had no business winning these games. Up steps Benzema in the right spot at the right time to score these goals. He's wonderful. Luka Modric, a guy that Canada will see at the World Cup, plays for Croatia, again in his mid-30s. But my God, if there's a guy that is more fun to watch in world football, I'm not sure who it is. He just glides around the field. He's so intelligent. He's not as athletic as he once was. Doesn't look like a footballer. Looks like a Dickensian figure on the streets of London, begging for food. He's a weird look to him, but he just plays with such a panache, such a great passer of the ball, an incredible inner drive. So these are older guys who Real Madrid are still based around. So they will need to at some point rebuild, but not yet. They're still a team very much in contention. They won the Spanish Championship this year, beat out Barcelona, beat out Atletico Madrid, Sevilla. Still very, very good, but certainly a team that's, perhaps at the end of their cycle.
I know that your friend and mine, Toronto Mike, is just, chomping at the bit to talk soccer. That's all he wants to do when we're off air. He just goes nuts. He's nagging me about, Nottingham Forest against Coventry. Like crazy.
That's a huge game on Sunday. Forest, Huddersfield, the richest game in world sport.
No, explain that one. These are like whoever wins that game gets promoted to the Premier League, right?
There's no bigger game in the world of sport that's worth more money than Nottingham Forest, Huddersfield. The reason being is that you get promoted to the Premier League, right? With that, you get 100 million odd just for TV rights per year. Now, if you get relegated, you get what's called parachute payments. Parachute payments means you still get a big whack of money for 3 more years after that. So you're guaranteed this money coming in, plus prize money. So it's worth, I think, overall about £200 million, which is what, $1 bajillion these days. So yeah, it's a lot of money, and it's worth so much to those clubs.
Wow.
I never thought we took Forrest Huddersfield on Toronto Mike. I got to tell you.
What if they substitute Richie LeRae in? Wouldn't that be great? And he scores the winner.
Absolutely.
I'm rooting for Notts Forest because like that's the other thing is with soccer. Is I just love following like the Canadians, like we do in tennis, like we do in golf, like the internet, like we do in in F1 racing or anything. Canadians doing well somewhere, beautiful.
How many Bayern Munich fans are there in Canada now compared to 5 years ago before Alphonso Davies arrived, right? Now we're watching Bayern Munich games, right? John David's going to leave Lille this year and probably come to the Premier League with a big club. Another Canadian, right? I mean, we used to have the Craig Forrest, of course, the Paul Stolteris, good Canadian players, great Canadian players playing in the Premier League, but not many. There's going to be a lot more coming pretty soon.
Right. Mike?
Firstly, go Blizzard. And I'm curious, James. Nice to see you again, buddy. It's been a couple of months here.
Likewise.
Are we getting some pies? Are we getting pies?
Yeah,
promote Sharman's proper pies. Listen to this. I haven't had them, but I'm told.
Wait, let's hear this apology. James has a written apology. Let's listen.
I know. I dropped the ball last time I was on Toronto Mike. I'm driving over from the East End. I'm thinking, oh crap! I should have brought pies. So now Mike has to invite me back.
Right, so and I gave you a lasagna, but I didn't get a pie. Okay,
which is great, by the way. It was delicious, by the way. The lasagna.
Oh my God,
fantastic!
Folks, James, the soccer story that I'm not as into this the club teams and everything you guys are discussing. I'm learning a lot by listening to you, but I'm interested in Iran Gate. Can you speak to this situation with Team Canada and the Iranian team?
Yeah,
it's really murky. It's messy. It's been poorly handled. So essentially, Canada obviously playing in the World Cup in Qatar in November, December. You got a couple of windows to play matches. At home in particular, you have really one window, one match. So the Canada could have chosen any team from around the world.
Right.
The way it works in international football is you pay for that, the travel and the expenses. So they chose Iran, which was controversial at the very least, right? Given obviously what happened a couple of years ago.
A couple years ago, they shot down a
Flight 752,
right,
with Canadians aboard.
Right.
And I mean, they haven't had diplomatic relations with Iran since 2012. This is not a cozy relationship. Yet Canada chose Iran without consulting with the government, apparently. So Justin Trudeau a couple of weeks ago said it was ill-advised. He doesn't like the fact that Iran's coming. The pressure continued. It was mounting on the players. Some players apparently threatened to boycott the match. It went ahead. So yesterday they cancelled the match, which has thrown John Herman's preparation into disarray because they got to play a game. It's on the 5th. They got 2 games after that against CONCACAF nations in what's called the Nations League, but they got to play teams from outside CONCACAF. They haven't done that for a very long time.
Right.
They're trying to frantically find another opponent to play, but that looks unlikely now. It's such short notice. But yeah, it's been poorly handled. I think we're all quite surprised when they announced Iran to begin with.
Of all nations.
Probably. Yeah. Of all nations, yeah.
Like, how does that get out of the boardroom when you're having your discussions? Like that should be like we're excluding, like we're not going to play North Korea, okay? We're not. You just have your list of countries. We're not going to play Russia.
I think partly, it's who's available, right? Who's going to come to Canada, to Vancouver?
And it better not be Belarus, okay? We're not playing Belarus either.
I mean, European teams aren't coming over here, right? Not in June, I don't think. To Vancouver, it's too far. So, I mean, there weren't many options, I guess. And I think it would have cost $400,000. You want to get a Brazil or a Portugal or an England, it's going to cost you a lot more than that. So we don't know the details, but yeah, it doesn't look good at all. And it's just like I said, it's a real blown opportunity to get these guys together, play a game, because there aren't that many windows before the World Cup.
I think there's too much soccer sometimes at the same time. Like I could never imagine in the middle of a hockey season, except maybe for an Olympic year, where they would say, okay, we've got a midweek game like over there. We're going over there for a while. Then we're coming back here on Saturday night to play. And then we're flying over there to play, the second leg or something like that. James, are there too many outside competitions that kind of wreak havoc within a league? And is this one of the reasons, I think, why not enough people who are Toronto TFC fans are actual fans or knowledgeable when it comes to the entire Major League Soccer? Like,
Yeah,
I'm one of them. I know my TFC, but I don't know enough about Real Salt Lake or Miami FC or anything like that.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm so focused on European football these days. I don't cover MLS like I used to. I need to work on that, but there's a lot of football. Obviously, European season ends, in the spring. So you have all summer to enjoy MLS, and it does fulfill the void for sure. But there's a lot of football during the winter and the fall and the spring. Too much football for the players. I mean, we see the injuries every year, players breaking down. In England, you have 4 tournaments you're competing in if you're a good team, right? The Premier League, you're playing in Europe, be it the Champions League or the Europa League. You're playing in the FA Cup and the League Cup, right? It's way too much football. These guys are breaking down. And thankfully, there's not a World Cup this summer. There would have been normally. It's in November, December, because they decided to put it in the Middle East without thinking, might be a little bit hot there in June, but they changed that. So, I mean, as much as it's frantic now, just imagine next season when it kicks off in early August and then everything shuts down for a month in November, December. It's crazy. It's all about the mighty dollar. It's no sports are greedier than soccer, than FIFA, and that includes the NFL, right? Yeah. So, they don't really care about the players' well-beings, even the saturation for, like you mentioned there, Hebsy, the sports fan. There's only so much you can watch, right? I watch a lot of sport. I've got a very understanding wife, but if I'm telling her I want to watch Real Salt Lake against Columbus this weekend, she might have an issue with that.
Yeah. Well, in my case, like, I'm fortunate enough that I'm a Spurs fan. And so, a lot of times it's early enough in the morning that it's not an issue. Right. But imagine if it was, 8:00 on a Saturday night, there's no way.
No.
But 7:00 on a Saturday morning. Sure, sweetheart. Go ahead. Just put the headphones on.
Well, I will say, this, Hebsy.
Make your coffee.
There are some great days living in Canada when you wake up at 7 to watch a big match, and then the Premier League ends around 12:31ish, and then you got a couple of hours off, and then you start watching hockey night, or maybe you throw a Jays game in there, and you realize you're going to bed at 1 a.m. thinking, I've watched 17 hours of sport today.
That's Hebsy every day.
No, it's not, though. It's not. That's just it. You think that's it. But with YouTube, I can catch up on stuff. Oh, yeah. And then the next day make it seem like I watched the whole game.
Yeah, that's true. To do. Well, I do wonder about, I say young people today, right? I feel old saying that, right? But kids don't watch full sporting events as much anymore, right?
No, they don't.
Watch it on their phone, the highlights, the condensed version. So you wonder, that's why they're trying to speed up baseball. They're trying to speed up all these sports for a good reason. You wonder what the future of sports looks like in 30 years' time. Cricket has been completely transformed. I grew up watching 5-day test matches, 3-day internationals, 1 day being the short version. Right. Nowadays, 2020 is the one to watch. That's the biggest ratings. It's huge. The whole sports change has been transformed. And I'm not sure if North America will follow suit with baseball, but something's got to change.
Well, let's see. 3 words: Jays in 30.
There you go. Exactly.
As soon as they came up with that, dude, what do I have to watch the whole game for? Right. Yeah. You just edit that down into 30. And then if I want to, man, I can edit that down to 10, 7 minutes. And I can have that. And usually within an hour or so of the end of the game, you'll find it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the way to do it. So and if I'm an advertiser, I'm flipping out. In fact, if I'm an advertiser, I'm advertising on that YouTube channel right there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I'm not advertising on the game. This pitching change.
Well, that's terrifying for companies that spend billions on hockey deals, for example. And then they're realizing that, maybe not everyone is so consumed and will watch it just because it's on. There's alternatives out there, right?
But don't kid yourself. If the Leafs were playing in the playoffs right now, how many millions would be watching live? Like, we're not.
Yeah. But Mike, it's a great point. But I think we're so tribal as sports fans. Leaf fans will watch Leaf games. I will. I'm not really going to watch Edmonton against Calgary late at night. I'm just not.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm with you.
Okay, so what are you saying? So what are you saying there, James? You're saying
I'm saying that sports fans aren't really sports fans. They're team fans. Most of them.
We cheer for laundry. We cheer for laundry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's hardcores out there. I know guys, the two Hebsy, who watch anything that's on. They'll watch it, right? But they're generally not married or have kids.
If I may, on this point, okay. On this point,
or divorced,
well, there's that,
and their kids are grown up.
So in my little circle, let's say there's 100 people in my circle. Okay, these are 100 people who would be glued to the Leafs game if they were in the second round right now of the NHL playoffs. And I can tell you, 98 of them. This is an unscientific test, anecdotally. 98 of these people, the playoffs ended when the Leafs lost in Game 7. Like that's it.
100%.
But that's it with most sports fans. If your team is out, right? Unless you now again, and James, you can speak to this, the gambling element of it. We're like when we were at Headline Sports, the Score back in the day. Were you interested in the gambling aspect of it?
Not as much, but there were degenerates there. Don't make a mistake. My God, I tell you, you walk around the newsroom at nighttime in that place, like, wow. It's like being in man, it's a dark place to be, put it that way. There were young people making no money, throwing a lot of money down on Tampa Bay to do something like, wow. It wasn't pretty.
Because here's the thing. The idea of having to sit and watch a game that you had no interest in and pick out highlights of it for 3 hours was, you'd rather have your eyes gouged out. So you had to have some little sweetener. You had to have
some skin in the game, right?
Some skin in the game. So it was like you couldn't care less between the Minnesota Twins and the Colorado Rockies, but pick a team, give me some odds. So there was always action. So you would hear this screaming from one of the booths. You go, what's going on in there? Oh, it's Minnesota against Oakland. Minnesota, Oakland. Yeah, well, one of the guys has $10 on the game or whatever, and he just gave up a grand slam. And so you'd go, wow, are they ever passionate about sports? No, it had nothing to do with that.
No, they've bet their $30,000 a year salary, and they've blown it within a couple of weeks. Some of these guys,
And then they'd come up to you for money. They'd ask me for money, saying, "Oh no, that wasn't it." I would bring my lunch, and they'd say, "Like, are you going to eat that sandwich?" They didn't have enough money.
There were people running books in the corner. They really were, because back in those days, you couldn't get on, North Star Bets or whatever it is, right? You couldn't do it. Right, FanDuel, because they weren't available. It's changed so much the last few weeks, really, here in Ontario. But yeah, there's no doubt gambling adds the passion to sport, because who's watching, even Calgary, Edmonton, great series, right? Well, potentially, good rivalry, but unless you're a fan of the team or you have money on them, are you staying up till 2 a.m? Probably not.
Oh my God, hysterical. So James, what do you got going now? So you're doing the Footy Prime with you and like the other.
Yeah, Craig Forrest and Jimmy Brennan, Brandon Dunlop. Yeah, that's great. It's our podcast, and we just signed a deal with the Toronto Star, and with North Star Bets. So it's doing really well at the moment. And you mentioned I've just begun working at the Parlay, which is a startup essentially. It is fantastic, providing content for the betting space.
Steve McAllister.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Give him my regards. I like Steve.
I will. Okay. Absolutely. No, it's great. It reminds me a lot of the Score back when I first started. A lot of real young, talented people here. Yeah. And trying to offer some guidance and really produce a lot of soccer content. And it's been great so far. It's a real build, and I love doing that.
Fantastic. Listen, I know Mike too, but like when I first met you and I got into the soccer inside the building there, when I saw, you got to see all that stuff and we were taking in highlights and feeds and all that, is when I got a real appreciation for it. And, knowing and seeing like the David Beckhams going, wow, it's, this guy's good. And this is exciting stuff. So I want to thank you personally for helping me enjoy the sport more, along with your, sidekicks there, the Craig Forrest of the world.
Thanks, Hebsy. Well, I'll tell you what, Hebsy, you're the reason, you and Taddy are the reason why I became a Leaf fan, actually, I'd say, from Sportsline.
Taddy's not a Leaf fan. Taddy's a Red Wings fan.
I know, but I watched Sportsline and I watched the Leafs and I learned and educated myself through that show way back when. So, hey, listen, we're even now.
Oh, is that it? We're even?
I think so, yeah.
And I love you both.
Love you too, Mike.
All right, folks, there's James Sharman. You know that voice. And when it comes to soccer, he's the expert, the pundit, the number one soccer pundit in Canada, James Sharman. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care, buddy.
Cheers.
There you go. I wanted to make the comparison. And when you mentioned Karim Benzema of Real Madrid and Luka Modric, these are guys in their mid-30s. I thought immediately of the Golden State Warriors and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, who it seems have been around for the Splash Brothers for like eons with Golden State.
Right.
They haven't played for anyone else. It's just those two guys. You go back and say, how many duos have stayed together? Like LeBron went from this Cleveland to Miami, Cleveland, the Lakers, he's always with somebody else, always trying to do it with someone else. A couple of years here and there. These guys have been together for years. And last night they knocked off the Dallas Mavericks. They got 32 points from Thompson, and they only got 16 from Curry, but that's okay. Beat the Dallas Mavericks 120-110, eliminated them, and are on their way to the Western Conference Final after 2 seasons of missing the playoffs, with Klay Thompson being out with a torn ACL 1 year and then a torn Achilles tendon in the other foot. Torn left ACL in 2019, torn right Achilles tendon in 2020. Okay, 2 years of rehab. Forget rehab isn't even the word. Grueling. Okay, physiotherapy. I'm sure mental therapy, going through all of that during, the pandemic as well, and just all that stuff. And the dude comes back and drops 32 last night.
Wow.
Okay, 32, good for him. And he was dancing and crying on the sidelines. I don't know if I've ever seen anyone dance and cry at the same time. It was beautiful, really.
Only
fantastic.
at a wedding, I think, is when you do that.
The
first dance, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. That's slow dancing. You're right. This wasn't slow dancing.
The father-daughter dance at a wedding, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. You're right. Except for that.
Right.
This was beautiful and poignant. 2 major knee surgeries, 2 years of rehab, dancing on the sidelines, tears in his eyes. Warriors clinching their spot in the NBA final. Just fantastic. So he had 32. Andrew Wiggins, who has been rejuvenated. Woo. As not the number 1 man or not the number 2 man, but the number 3 or 4 man with the Warriors. He had 18 points despite going 0 for 7 from 3-point range. Draymond Green, the veteran, 17 points. Curry, 16. Warriors await the winner of the Boston-Miami series. Game 6 is tonight in Boston. Celtics lead the Heat 3-2. They can lock it up tonight. I was going to say at the Boston Garden at the parquet floor. Johnny Most here at the Boston Garden. The Celtics are a 1 win away from taking on the Warriors.
Hebsy, may I ask you, have you watched Winning Time on HBO yet?
Oh, sure have.
Okay. Because now when you said all that, I'm thinking of
and the Magic.
Auerbach.
Yeah, and the Magic. Oh, that was good, eh? That was Michael Chiklis playing the part of Red Auerbach.
I didn't know that was Michael
Chiklis.
It
was good. It was good. That was well done. Very, very well
and
done.
Jerry Buss.
Not entirely accurate.
No,
at all.
None of
Not
that.
accurate at all. And they haven't sued the filmmakers, but they've asked for an apology and some kind of retraction. West at least has, because he was wrongly portrayed. He was not the maniac that he was portrayed. But again, I guess filmmakers can take certain liberties and avoid slander or libel or what's the character, defamation of character or defamation of
when I watched it. And I enjoyed it, but I always wondered, what does Larry Bird think when he watches it?
Oh my God. But the thing is, that's fairly accurate, they say. Like they really put the redneck part of it, more, but he was, like, I can beat anybody. Fuck you. I'll take you on. And he was a white cracker against all these black guys, right? He was a cracker. He wasn't an inner city.
Yeah, he was Indiana guy.
No, but he wasn't an inner city white guy, a Chris Mullin, a Brooklyn guy from the streets. You know what I'm talking about? He was from French Lick, Indiana, the hick from French Lick, right? Wow. Like, he was, and I don't know. I mean, he went to the University of Indiana. He couldn't take Bobby Knight for like 3 days. He left, right? He was just some skinny white kid from, again, the sticks. So that made it even more of it. Like Magic Johnson was from the streets, man. This guy was from, not the projects. His father, he was a sanitation engineer, worked all night shift in Lansing, Michigan. Yeah. Right. Grew up in poverty, basically.
But a working man, working man.
Anyway, it was a good series. Anyway, so good for Golden State. And now Boston, Miami tonight. I hope the Celtics win. I would love to see a Boston Golden State final. That would be fantastic. In tennis, hey, just before we went to air with the podcast, Leila Annie Fernandez beat the number 11 seed at the French Open, Belinda Bencic, the girl that beat Bianca Andreescu the previous round. Knocked her off 7-5, 3-6, 6-4. No, sorry, 7-5, 3-6, 7-5. She actually, I thought she was going to win 6-4 in the final set. She was serving at 5-4 for the match, and then she fell apart. She got broken. Okay, and I said to Mike, "Oh my God." Right. You've got the tournament, the championship, not the championship, but the match on your racket. You're serving for the match. And I said many times before, in women's tennis especially, Holding serve is the toughest thing to do. Not breaking serve, holding serve. It is.
In the intro, you called it an upset, but on your YouTube channel, a couple of people think it was a coin flip.
Well, no, 17 seed versus 11 seed is considered to be an upset, I would think. I mean, in the parlance.
Right.
Would that be correct?
I can't.
Mike, there's a major upset. So you would put the word major upset,
okay.
Right? If the favorite, the betting favorite gets beaten,
it's an upset.
Thank you. And thanks to our friends at Bodog. Because
shout out to Bodog.
Because if you were to have betten Leila Annie Fernandez, you would have gotten a better deal than had you bet Belinda Bencic, who knocked off Bianca Andreescu. Anyway, that's great. And later this morning, or it could be going on now for all I know, Felix Auger-Aliassime, who's the number 9 seed, I believe, on the men's side, is playing an opponent whose name I have forgotten. It doesn't matter that much. It's not that big a deal. In golf, Mike Weir, 1 shot off the lead at the Senior PGA Championship being held in Benton Harbor, Michigan, at the Harbor Shores Club. Weir shot 6 under par 66. That's not that far from where Weirsy grew up, you know. Weirsie's from Sarnia.
Right.
And Sarnia, not that far, although Benton Harbor, Michigan is closer to the Indiana border. It's in Western Michigan out there. Kalamazoo, up there. Home of Kellogg's, if I'm not mistaken. That's Battle Creek, Michigan. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, he's at 6 under 66 on the regular tour, the flat belly tour, as they like to call it. It's the Charles Schwab Challenge, in Canada's Nick Taylor is one of 8 golfers tied for the lead after an opening round, 4 under par 66. Adam Svensson, 1 under par. I'll be at Crosswinds this Sunday in Burlington, getting in an early Father's Day celebration with my 2 boys and my girlfriend. Father's Day, as you know, is not for a while, but my youngest son will not be anywhere near. He won't be in the country. When Father's Day comes. He's going on this long tour of the United States with his buddies, these comedians.
Well, good for him, man.
Curtis Connor and Dean Hebscher and Jacob Sharp. And they've got this tour where they start in Tampa on the 8th of June. And it's like they're all over. They're in every major city and college town, but big, like fair-sized venues, like, you know, like 500 seat venues, 700 seat venues, some, and yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And this Father's Day golf trip to Crosswind sounds damn fun. So enjoy, man.
Always. Okay. And remember, this is why, I sent these kids, we sent them off to golf camp when they were like little boys, yeah, as much to get rid of them for a few hours for nothing. As you know, Mike, it's like, off you go to golf camp for,
right.
What was it? You drop them off at 9 a.m. You pick them up at 3 p.m. They get, here's money for lunch, play some golf, have some fun. And so they loved it. And, now they're adults and they're playing and they really enjoy it. So, as opposed to you're dragging your kids, come on, indulge dad, play some golf. So that'll be fun. We're going to be at Crosswinds and that's crosswindsgolf.com, our great sponsor. And we love it there. It's in fabulous condition. Everything's good. I think that's about it, Mike. I'm trying to think now. It's Friday of a long weekend for our American friends. It's Memorial Day. A lot's going on this weekend. Should be very, very exciting. I hope you guys, you and yours, have a good weekend. What are you guys up to?
I'm trying to think. I don't think anything's particular.
I'm trying to think.
I'm trying to think of what's going on. Nothing.
That says it all.
Well, I know that it's nice this weekend because, like you, I get all of my kids are here this weekend, so it'll be 6 of us. We'll find something fun to do, I'm sure.
Oh, that's great. Take pictures. Take lots of pictures.
And I will just shout out, so I am actually right now at 10:30. I'm going to be talking with Danny Gallagher about the history of the
I thought you were going to say Danny Gallivan. Danny Gallagher?
There's a Danny Gallivan connection because Russ Taylor, do you know the name Russ Taylor?
Of course. Original Expos radio announcer.
So I've been chatting with his daughter was at TMLX 9, and his other daughter is Leslie Taylor.
I didn't know that, man.
And Carolyn Taylor is a member of the Baroness Von Sketch Show. So he apparently is the reason Danny Gallivan ended up calling game. Russ Taylor is the reason Danny Gallivan.
I remember hearing the story. Yeah, Danny Gallivan had told me the story many years, 30, 40 years ago, whenever it was. Anyway, that's awesome. And Danny Gallagher, please give him my regards. He is an Expos expert, and I love his stuff. I got a couple of his books, as a matter of fact.
Hey, I'll tell him. I'll say Hebsy says hi.
Please mention it to him. Thanks for joining us, everyone, on the Hebsy on Sports podcast, episode 286. Thanks to Toronto Mike, as always, for production and inspiration. Check him out at Toronto Mike. And thanks to our excellent sponsor, Crosswinds Golf and Country Club in Burlington. Go to crosswindsgolf.com. Thanks to our guest, James Sharman, for talking soccer. Hit him up at James Sharman. And thanks to you for allowing us into your headspace. Back with another episode next week when our guest will be Joe the Swiss Tilly. Another FOTM, the legendary TV sportscaster, my golf partner on several occasions. Just an all-around great guy. And we'll be looking forward to talking to Joe the Swiss next week. Until then, so long for now.